Gorakraganya Ganagocha Goloruharam Goranga Gudatama Gopyata Kolpa Briksham Gopala Gada Ratidam Yati Singha Gora Govinda Deshi Kavaram Satatam Namami Uttama Adama Kichuna Bachila Jachiya Dile Kakola Kahe Premananda Hemona Goranga Hridaya Dariya Bola Bhaja Goranga Kaha Goranga Laha Gorangera Namare Jnana Goranga Bhaje Se Hoyamada Prana Re Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Yashaiva Padambuja Bhakti Labhya Prema-bhakti-candrika Padama Pumarta Tasmai Jagan Mangala Mangalaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Madgavirapi Gopala Srikuryat Kripaya Jadi Tadaiva Sambhaya Pidvaha Rishe Yustat Priya Janaha Shri Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Sasanatana Rupaka Gopala Raghunathabda Brajabala Bapahimam Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Brinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Mother Anavadyangi, is that you? Hare Krishna. Anavadyangi, is that you? Hare Krishna.
Oh, unmute. Here we go. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. That's wow, it's been so long. It's nice to see you. We have a special
A special connection because I was just reading something Bhakti Das just posted and I saw that you just were there and I go, oh my goodness, how fortunate am I?
Hare Krishna. I didn't think you were going to be able to join us today.
You
This is
know,
Anavadyangi. I should introduce you to the
these things,
devotees.
Krishna is in control of everybody at every moment, and he obviously made this arrangement for me, and I thank you and him.
So those of you who don't know her, Anavadyangi is a very senior disciple of Srila Prabhupada. She's
Mm,
one of my mothers. She lives
most
in
fallen.
about an hour away from Reno, Nevada, and I'm really distant at where I place him, everybody. Her children, some of her kids are some of the first Gurukula kids, and she has so many stories in association with Prabhupada, and we're very, very blessed to have your association here today. Thank you for coming. So let's go ahead and start. We've been reading and discussing something from the book of Narottam Das Thakur called Prema-bhakti-candrika, the moon rays of Prema Bhakti. And we're in the 8th section of the book, which is about Nishta Bhakti. First, we'll just say a little prayer to Narottam Das Thakur, which I'll put on our board and we can all maybe recite together. Shri Krishna Namam Ritabarshi Bhaktra Chandra Prabhadvasta Tamo Baraya Gauranga Deva Anucharaya Namo Namah Srila Narotamaya. Again and again I offer my obeisances unto Srila Narottam Das Thakur. He's indeed a true follower of Lord Gauranga Dev. The nectarian shower of the holy name radiating from the moon of his mouth destroys the darkness of ignorance. So let's go back and look at the verse we had last Friday. Generally, I want to try to do this on Thursday, but it's nice for me if Friday can be kind of a backup sometimes. So here's our previous verse. Radha Krishna nahi rati anya jane bole pati prema bhakti riti nahi jane nahi bhakti sandana bharame koroye jnana britta se char jivane. Those who have not developed attachment for Sri Sri Radha Krishna, not knowing the process of loving devotional service, consider others as their Lord and protector. Such people do not inquire about devotional service. They don't inquire about bhakti, nahi bhakti sandhana. Rather, they engage bharame koroye dhyana. They engage in pseudo meditation. Dhrittatar sechar jivana. Their lives are useless and insignificant. Narottam Das Thakur speaks in such a strong way. So let's go on to today's verse. Narottam is speaking in a similar way, in a very strong way. Let's go ahead. Jnana karma kore loka nahi jane bhakti yoga nana mate hoya agyana tada kata nahi shuni paramarta tattva jani prema bhakti bhakta gana pran. Less intelligent people who are agyan, nanamate hoya gyan, they engage in gyan and karma. They translated here pious activities and speculative knowledge. Not my favorite translation for that, but we'll come back to that. They do not know the process of devotional service. They don't understand bhakti, nahi jani bhakti yoga, because they are misguided by various opinions. Nana mate hoya agyan. Don't listen to them. Tada kata nahi suni. Don't hear from them. But paramartha tattva jani prema bhakti bhakti jnana pran. Know for certain that bhakti is the life and soul of the devotees. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has given some commentary that one should not hear the words of the karmis and gyanis. Prema bhakti is the life and soul of the devotees. One should consider this prema bhakti as the supreme goal of life. So here they're translating, pious activities and speculative knowledge. Karma generally is translated by our acharyas as Varnashram dharma. And gyan means the process of trying to understand things through knowledge, which may be speculative knowledge. It's not something which is realized as we find in bhakti. So here in the previous verse, Narottam Das Thakur is saying that people who haven't developed rati for Radha Krishna nahi rati, anya jani boli pati, then they go around saying someone else is my pati, my Lord, my protector, and it may be President Trump. it may be this person or that person. They're thinking different sources are going to be my Lord and protector because they're not seeing Radha and Krishna. And it's not just, as we spoke last week, it's not just some theoretical information, but when Narottam Das Thakur uses the word rati, Radha Krishna nahi rati, we should have some natural attachment for Radha Krishna. And for such a person who has that natural attachment for Radha Krishna, they're not interested in anything else. They don't see anyone else as their pati. But for someone who doesn't have that kind of rati, then maybe they're doing some kind of sadhana, some kind of bhajan, but it's pseudo. It's not really deep. It's just some fake thing because they're not deeply taking shelter of the Lord. And then in this verse today, Narottam is explaining that those people who are taking shelter of jnana or of karma, and let's analyze this a little bit for devotees, how we can take shelter of jnana. Sometimes I've seen many times over the years in our Krishna conscious movement that if you can quote some verses, I'm going to turn the recording back on, I forgot. If you can quote some verses, if you know some Sanskrit, then people tend to think, oh, you're a very, very special person. Because Bhaktivinoda says that there's two types of persons. There's Bahirmukh Janas and Antarmukh Janas, external persons and internal. And the external persons, they see things according to karma and gyan. They see things according to seeing someone else as their pati, as their maintainer, because they don't understand about bhakti. If we don't understand about bhakti, then we think, oh, getting some information is very, very important. And it's confusing even when someone knows a lot of bhakti verses, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, or even Ujjwala Nilamani, computer shaking, I'm sorry. Then we think, well, that must be bhakti, because it's very hard to understand bhakti. And as Narottam says in the previous verse, that Radha Krishna nahi rati. If we don't have rati for Radha Krishna, then we're going to have rati for something else. And then we're going to take shelter of Gyan, collect some information, I'll get a lot of respect that way, or of karma, Varnashram Dharma. And we're going to think, I have to do this. I will become so entranced, so charmed by the Vedavata Rati, the different instructions of the Vedic literatures, and a beautiful Vedic culture in India, which is mostly gone today, but some of it's still there. And just the way people cook and the way they grow their food, the way they make their houses, the way they do so many things. And we'll think this is the real deal. This is a real program. But nahi jani bhakti yoga. Such persons, if they don't understand bhakti, then they take shelter of jnana karma. That becomes their pati. Nana mate hoya agyan. And this is an important line. Narottam Das Thakur says, Nana mate hoya agyan. They're going to be misguided. They're going to have some ignorance coming by nana mate, from hearing so many different opinions. My God, and it's never been worse in the world, more terrible in the world than it is today. 1 second, I'm looking for something. Let me just try to fix something on my computer. That's not going to work. 1 second. Still here. That's better. Sorry. Nana mati hoya again. So they're hearing so many different opinions. And my God, today it's just really terrible. Shri Chaitanya Mukod Girnar Hare Krishna Varnaka Mahaprabhu, he came to give us the Maha Mantra and to this whole world. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, Shri Chaitanya Prabhum Vande Balo Piyada Nugraha Tarinana Matagraha Vyaptam Siddhanta Sagam. It's the first verse I ever memorized. That it's described there that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, if one takes shelter of him, then they can easily cross over the ocean of material existence, which is full of the crocodiles of different opinions, nana mate, different ideas and things. And today, the world is so full of it, and we don't know what to think, what not to think. People are saying that they're lying grossly to our faces. People are saying that there's fake news. And what is fake news and what is real news is very, very hard to determine. For me personally, in this deluge and Kali Yuga of so many different ideas and thoughts, I just want to take shelter of bhakti. And although I certainly do hear the news and try to keep updated on things, I don't have much faith in it because I don't know who really to believe and what to believe, but I want to believe in bhakti. I want to take shelter of that. If we take shelter of all these different ideas, now Tom is saying that we just become so confused. We become misguided again. Tarakata nahi suni. So such people, nahi suni, they're not hearing Krishna Katha. They're not hearing Sudha Bhakti. Sometimes they're hearing some Jnana Mishra Bhakti, or they're hearing some Karma Mishra Bhakti, Bhakti which is mixed with the purpose of collecting information, or Bhakti which is mixed with Varnashram Dharma. We have to do this Varnashram Dharma, otherwise we can't make advancement. So we're not hearing Tarakata Nahi Suni Paramatma Tattva Jani. We're not hearing Paramartha Tattva. We're not hearing about the absolute truth. And we don't, so devotees, people don't know about that thing. Prema Bhakti Bhakta Gana Pran. And they don't understand that this Prema Bhakti, this is the life and soul of the devotees. Not Gyan, not Karma, not Jnana Mishra Bhakti or Karma Mishra Bhakti. This doesn't mean that Varnashram is not important. Varnashram is given by the Lord. Let's look a little bit at this. This will be a big part of our discussion today. So this is a verse from the Vishnu Purana, which is quoted in the Ramananda Samvad, conversation between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Roy. Varnashram Charachavita Purushena Para Puman Vishnu Radhate Panta Nanya Tato Shakaranam. That we have to follow Varnashram Dharma. And it said there's no other way. Nanyat tato shakarnam. There's literally, there's no other way to worship the Lord, to satisfy Him. You have to be situated in the four varnas and ashrams. But Narottam Thakur, 2 verses ago, he was speaking about how this Varnashram and this karma and this gyan, they're pots of poison. So we want to try to resolve this thing today. Is Varnashram, is this Gyan, is it poison for us? Is it really bad? What relevance does it have for us as devotees? What does Srila Prabhupada say about it? So again, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the first canto, the famous verse, Dharmasvanustrita pum samvishvakshena katasuya nat parayadhyadiratim shrama eva hi kevalam. You may do Varnashram, and you're supposed to do Varnashram. Varnashram is very, very important. Just like if the king of a country comes to a small village, he may tell people the most important thing is that you should respect the mayor. Or you should respect your parents. Now he's the king. He's way, way above all of that. But he's telling us that because respect is such an important thing. And for your average person to follow Varnashram Dharma is so very, very important. But in the Bhagavatam, it begins in the first canto by telling us this thing. It's Shama Eva Hi Kevalam. Yeti Batim, just the same point Narottam was making in the previous verse. If we don't have this rati for Radha Krishna, attraction for them, Shama Eva Hi Kevalam. You may be doing some Varnashram Dharma, but what's the value of it? We want to cultivate bhakti. And Srila Prabhupada speaks about this in many different places. In the Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada says in the purport to the 8th chapter, the beauty of Krishna consciousness is that by one stroke, by engaging in devotional service, one can surpass all the rituals of the different orders of life. Just by one stroke. So we should have firm faith in bhakti. We may need to take shelter of other things. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, as we've often discussed, he says that there's different sadhaks in terms of their particular faith in Varnashram, which to extend that, it depends on their particular faith or their attachment to their material body. When we're very, very attached to the material body and we want to practice some kind of bhakti, then we think I have to do Varnashram Dharma. So the person he's called Swanishtita. Swanishtita means someone who's very fixed. He's nishtita. I have to do this Varnashram Dharma, otherwise I'm going to go to hell. And then they like to say that everybody must do this Varnashram Dharma, just like we saw many times over the years that when a brahmachari gets married, then he really starts giving classes. Everybody should get married. You should just be honest, Prabhu. Because now he's getting married. Or if he takes sannyas, then he wants to start preaching to all the brahmacharis. All the brahmacharis should take sannyas, and women are maya. Because atmavan mandate jagat. Whatever we have our faith in, we extend that to everyone else. And we think everybody else should also do this. So that's swanishita. Paranishita, para means something superior, means someone who follows Varnashram Dharma, but they understand it's not totally required. But it's going to help me. As the 11th canto of the Bhagavatam says, that we have Varnashram Dharma is like a safety net to protect us. That maybe we don't know how to practice bhakti, maybe we're very neophyte in our practice of bhakti, and we may fall down. So there's some Varnashram Dharma there to help us to keep from becoming animals, to really, really becoming very degraded. So such a person will accept it, understanding that it's not the all in all. That's called paranishita. And then nirapeksha is that person who's beyond Varnashram Dharma, and they may follow it to give some instructions to others. Sannyas is within the Varnashram system. And therefore, when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to Jagannath Puri, the boundary line around Puri is the Bhargavi River. And Lord Nityananda, in effect, he's telling Mahaprabhu that, look, if you want to enter into the heart of Jagannath Puri, which is Gupta Vrindavan, you want to enter into the Sri Kshetra, Sri meaning Sarva Angsini Lakshmi Mai Radha, that place of Srimati Radharani, then you have to give up this danda. And so Lord Nityananda breaks his danda at the Bhargavi River, that boundary line, because going on from here, there's no question of Varnashram Dharma. So for devotees who are following bhakti, at least we should understand this philosophy, and we should have full faith that all that I have to do is bhakti. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami defines faith, Shraddha Sabde Visvaskahi, Sudhirdanas Choi, Krishna Bhakti Koili, Sarva Karma Krita Hoy. That all that faith means, all I have to do is Krishna Bhakti. And everything else should be taken care of. The problem is we don't have such faith. But we should understand. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 22, describes it. Mahaprabhu tells Sanatana Goswami, Eta Sabachari Varnashram Dharma, Akinchana Hana Loya, Krishnaika Sarna, without any hesitation. Eta Sabachari, to give up this Varnashram Dharma, and just take full shelter of Krishna and do it with great confidence. Krishnaika Sarna, just take complete shelter of Krishna, and everything will come. So this is a final instruction of Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. Sarva dharma pratyaga, you should give up all types of dharma, give up the Varnashram Dharma, and just surrender to me. But the problem was that Krishna, he spoke this, but he needed to show an example. And therefore he came as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because devotees needed to learn, as Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes in his first song in Saranagati, we needed to learn what is Saranagati, what is surrender, what is faith. Surrender is based on faith. And depending on the quality of faith that we have, we'll be able to do some kind of surrender. In the Amnaya Sutra, Bhaktivinoda Thakur speaks about this. Interesting. Shadatvanyo paya barajam bhaktyum mukhi chitta vritti visheshaha. The particular disposition of the heart, chitta vritti, that's always inclined toward Krishna alone, that leaves aside all other methods of sadhana like karma, jnana, and yoga, that's called shraddha. So when someone has this kind of faith, and this is what Narottam's speaking about here today in this verse, that some people, they're just very unfortunate and they don't have faith in bhakti because they haven't heard. They haven't heard from someone who's inspired by bhakti. They're hearing from so many different personalities, Narottam's saying, and they're hearing of so many different ideas and things. We have to do this, we have to be proper grihastha, and we have to follow this thing and that thing. And there's not much stress on bhakti. There's not much faith in bhakti. And so because of that, the devotees have a particular type of faith. But this faith, that all that I need to do is bhakti, chitta vritti vishesha, I can put aside everything else, that's really shraddha. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur speaks about this also in Jaiva Dharma. And he says that when the sadhak regularly hears the instructions of sadhus in association of Sudha Bhaktas, it's very, very important. You may be hearing, but if you're hearing from persons who are not really sadhus, we don't get the proper result. We may understand something, and therefore we all have a responsibility to actually come to the platform of being a genuine sadhu. If we're hearing from someone who's not a genuine sadhu, if we're in association with persons who are not pure devotees, who are not pure in the sense that Vishwanath gives in his commentary in the Gita, when he says that someone's not taking shelter of karma, jnana, or yoga, only taking shelter of bhakti. And he says that they may be a durachari sadhu. They may be attached to so many things, but they're doing ananyata bhajan. And that ananyata bhajan, he defines it as someone who's only having faith in bhakti. So if we associate with devotees, and Prabhupada therefore said that all my disciples are pure devotees, because they had that kind of faith, that kind of conviction. If we associate with devotees like that, then we develop this kind of faith. And if we don't regularly hear in that kind of association, then this conviction comes in our heart that, well, I really have to follow some Varnashram dharma, some jnana, I have to do some yoga, this and that. And Bhaktivinoda says he has no means in Jaiva Dharma, he has no means of success unless he takes shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna. And when someone comes to that conviction, I have to just take shelter of Krishna, that means that person has developed shraddha, real faith. Ado shraddha tata sadhu. Faith means what? Faith means faith in sadhu. If we don't have faith in any sadhu, we say there's no such thing as, there's no sadhus left, Prabhupada was the last one, then what is the hope? What kind of spiritual life do we have? So then what is the nature of that shraddha? Bhaktivinoda goes on to explain very beautifully. Sacha saranapati lakshana. That the lakshana or the characteristic of that shraddha is saranagati, that there's surrender. Unless we're hearing from a proper source about bhakti, then we become very, very confused. As Narottam is saying in this verse today, we'll take shelter of so many different things. And therefore he says that this karma and this jnana, these are for ignorant persons. And the real life of the devotee is bhakti. And this is what Srila Prabhupada came to give. In fact, Srila Prabhupada, we study, Prabhupada came to give Raganuga Bhakti, not just Vaidhi Bhakti. Prabhupada was giving these Tulsi prayers, praying to become a Sakhi Manjari, and so many things, because Prabhupada wanted to give Bhakti, he stressed on that. So persons, jnana karma kode loke, Narottam says, who are taking shelter of karma and jnana, they're doing it because they don't understand bhakti. Nahi jani bhakti yoga. Otherwise, they wouldn't take shelter of that. And why is it that they don't understand bhakti? Nana mati hoya, again, because they're hearing from so many different persons, so many different things. Tarakata nahi suni. They're not hearing about Paramatma Tattva, about the absolute truth, about Sri Krishna. They're not doing what Srila Prabhupada instructed. They're not hearing Krishna book. They're not reading Krishna book every day. Therefore, in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, there's one verse which some Vaishnavas say is the Mula Shlok, or the root verse of the entire Chaitanya Charitamrita. A very famous verse, the 11th verse in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Anyabhilasita shunyam jnana karmadi anabritam anukulyena krishnanu shilanam bhakti uttama. My Guru Maharaj gave a very beautiful definition of what is anukulyena krishnanu. He said it means Srimati Radharani. That's another description today.
Mm-hmm.
But Rupa Goswami is saying, Anyabhilasita shunyam. We should have no desire for anyabhilas, other nonsense things. But then when he speaks about Gyan and Karma, which is being spoken about by Narottam in this verse today, he uses the word anabritam. Why not use the word sunyatam? Anyabhilasita shunyam Gyana karmadi shunyatam. There should be no Gyana, no karma. And in his commentary in this verse, Jiva Goswami explains abrita means to cover. So anabrita means that it's not covered. And he explains how bhakti may become covered by jnana karma in different ways. One is that someone may think that the purpose of bhakti is to understand my position in Varnashram Dharma. That's the goal, and that's perfection. When I understand, yes, I should be a householder, and then even better yet, I understand I should be a carpenter, or I should be a cook, or this thing or that thing. That's covering bhakti. That's not the goal, to understand our position in Varnashram. The second way he says that it may cover bhakti is that one may think, oh, unless I practice this Varnashram, then I can't practice bhakti. Such a person, as we mentioned a moment ago, is swanishtita. So swanishtita, parinishtita, nirapeksha. Three attitudes toward Varnashram. Swanishtita, they're swanishta. They have firm faith. I have to do this Varnashram Dharma. Because they're hearing Nana Mate Hoya Agyan. They're hearing all this nonsense from so many different persons. Nahi Jani Bhakti Yoga. They don't understand Bhakti Yoga. They're hearing so many different other things, and therefore they're taking shelter of karma or gyan. They don't, because they don't have rati for Radha Krishna, then they're saying someone else is their pati. They're saying Varnashram Dharma or Gyan is their pati. This is what's going to maintain me. There's a beautiful conversation in Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Jaiva Dharma between a devotee named Yadava Das and his guru Ananta Das. And therein, Bhaktivinoda says some strong things about Varnashram Dharma. I'm going to go ahead and read this to you. Actually, when I put it on the board, and let's see here. Toshampra, would you like to read?
Oh, I can try it. Oh,
Just read
Shiva
the first.
Bhaktivinoda,
Go ahead.
first paragraph, yes?
Sure.
Shiva Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Jaiva Dharma, Chapter 7. Yadava Das. O revered master, householder devotees, life under the shelter of the Varnashram system. If such a Grihastha give up Varnashrama, can they be a Vaishnava?
It's a great question, isn't it? So householder devotees here, householder, it means you're grihastha, it means you're following Varnashram Dharma. So what if a grihastha gives up Varnashram? Can they be a Vaishnava? Anavadyangi, you want to read the next paragraph?
Anantadas. Varnashram Dharma is a very
Vaishnav Dharma.
broad. Huh?
Vaishnav Dharma.
Sorry. My Sanskrit's a little off.
That's okay.
And is very broad and generous. It is also known as Jaiva Dharma, or the religion of all living entities. every human being is qualified to follow the Varnashram system, or Dharma.
Vaishnava Dharma.
Even outcasts may embrace Vaishnav Dharma. How do you pronounce?
Yeah,
Not
Vaishnava. Vaishnava
okay.
Dharma.
And live as householders. Yes, they can even be a lowly woman. And for them there is no varnashram. Um, they who break uh, the
Varnashram.
varnashram rules of sannyas may, by associating with devotees, attain pure bhakti. Then they can be householder devotees. For them, there are no rules of varnashram. They who, because of their misdeeds, have left the varnashram system may still, along with their children, take shelter of pure bhakti in association with other devotees. Then they are householder devotees, but they are not part of the varnashram system. Householder devotees are of two kinds: those who follow Varnashram system and those who follow
Who do not follow.
who
Yeah.
do not follow. Sorry, that didn't make sense to me. Okay. So Yadu Vada.
Okay, we'll go ahead and stop there for a minute. So
Okay.
his guru is telling him that you should understand that Vaishnava Dharma is amazing. The nature of Vaishnava Dharma is it's very broad, it's very generous. It's the nature of the soul. And he says everyone is qualified to follow Varnashram Dharma, even outcasts. They can, excuse me, they can follow Vaishnava Dharma, not Varnashram Dharma. And they can live as householders. And for them, there's no Varnashram. And those
Gotcha.
persons who break the sannyas rules, elsewhere it's described they're called a vantasi, or someone who's eating their own vomit. But
Yeah.
if they're associating with devotees, they can attain pure bhakti. And we see this with Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada had a number of different disciples who took sannyas, and they were preaching and doing wonderful service, and they had some difficulties. And Prabhupada said, don't worry about it, you get married. And you go on and you fight in a different ashram. So Bhaktivinoda is saying here that even if they left that sannyas, by associating with devotees, they can still have pure bhakti. And they can be householder devotees. For them, there's no rules of varnashram. And those persons who, because of their misdeeds, they left the varnashram system, even along with their children, they can take shelter of pure bhakti in association with the devotees. Now, notice what he's stressing here in all these different categories is that if someone takes shelter of the devotees, and this is Narottam Das Thakur's point here in this verse today, that if we're hearing many different things that are not Sudha Bhakti, it's agyan, it's ignorance. Nana mata, all kinds of different opinions and ideas, then we can't properly make advancement. But if we're hearing from a proper source, then we can make advancement. Let's see here. Lila Purushottam, would you want to read from Yadava Das?
Yes, may I have a quick question just to this paragraph?
Sure, sure.
Is Bhaktivinoda Thakur using that example of falling from sannyas because it's like the biggest possible example of disqualifying oneself from the Varnashrama? Is that the idea or?
I don't know of any commentary on this that would answer that in a definitive way, but that's what I would say, yes, because that's like the last limit of of bad in Varnashram Dharma
Mhm,
for someone to
mhm.
fall down from sannyas.
Because in one sense we could say that the householder life is also part of Varnashram Dharma, but still it's used here as the example of like he can live as the householder and follow Vaishnava Dharma, not really Varnashram Dharma.
Yeah,
Okay, good. Thank you.
go ahead.
Okay, I'm continuing. Yadavadas. Of these two, which is the best? Anantadas. He who has more devotion is the best. If neither if neither has any devotion, then according to the material point of view, the follower of Varnashram is better because he is pious, and the other is an outcast. However, from a spiritual point of view, they are both degraded, for neither has any devotion.
Wow.
That's that's the bottom line for Bhaktivinoda Thakur. But then it becomes confusing for Srila Prabhupada, for us to understand Prabhupada. Prabhupada stressed so many times in one conversation in Mayapur in 1977. Let's look at that. This was on February 14th. It's quite a long conversation. I've just taken a couple short excerpts from it. Prabhupada was saying, Vaishnava is not so easy. The Varnashram Dharma should be established to become a Vaishnava. It's not so easy to become a Vaishnava. And Hari Sari Prabhu, yes, Prabhupada. And Prabhupada says, therefore, this should be made. To become a Vaishnava, if a Vaishnava is so easy, then why so many are falling down? Sannyas is for the highest qualified Brahmin, and simply dressing like a Vaishnava, that's fall down. So Prabhupada wanted Varnashram Dharma. He stressed that. He said, this is one of my purposes in this movement that I want to accomplish very much. And I'm looking right now, there's a beautiful description from, there's a memory from, by Abhiram Prabhu. Here it is, right here. Krishna Kun, are you available? Would you like to read something?
Yes, yes.
Go ahead. This is this thing from Abhiram Prabhu.
Varnashram means living off the land. A remembrance of Prabhupada by Abhiram Das. Shortly before Srila Prabhupada departed from this world, there were a few conversations he had about Gita Nagari. In one conversation downstairs in his house in Vrindavan, he was talking about his impending death, and he said, I have no lamentation. Naturally, he was free of all hankerings and lamenting, but then he paused and said, no, I have one lamentation. 3 or 4 people were there at the time, and someone asked, do you mean because you have not finished translating the Srimad Bhagavatam? Srila Prabhupada said, no, because I have not established Varnashram. 50% of my work is incomplete because I have not established Varnashram. Then the question arose, what to do about this uncompleted work? In another conversation on the roof, Srila Prabhupada said, I want to establish Varnashram, and one of us asked, how will you do that? Prabhupada said, I will sit down in Gita Nagari and teach you to live off the land. He made it as simple as that.
Wow.
That was generally Srila Prabhupada's formula for Varnashram Dharma, kind of a real Gandhian kind of thing. Just live off the land, and that's all that's required. Let's see here. Let's go a little bit further. There's a
But there was
beautiful,
a small booklet, Simple Living, I thinking.
Yeah, Prabhupada wanted that very much, because if we live off the land, as you're living close to the land, I don't know if you're living off the land these days, but living close to the land, you're in touch with the earth, you're in touch with the air and the outside, and you're not controlled by all these crazy people in Washington, D.C. or Budapest or Moscow or wherever. You can be independent. And to practice bhakti is very important to be independent. Otherwise, we can't be dependent on the Lord. There's a beautiful statement I wanted to share with you. This is from a book which is put together by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta called Brahman and Vaishnava. This is based on a lecture that he gave in Midnapur, if I recall correctly. There was a debate between the Smartas and the Vaishnavas. And just a couple sentences here, I'll read this one myself. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said, if Varnashram and other fruitive activities enjoined in the Shastras become prominent in one's life, then one cannot become a kinchana, or fully dependent on the Lord. Rather, these activities provoke offenses against the chanting of the holy names in the form of conceptions of I and mine. If a person is fully surrendered to Krishna and becomes proud of following Varnashram principles, then it must be considered that he's become most unfortunate. So Prabhupada wanted Varnashram. Bhaktivinoda Thakur also stressed in many different places we should have Varnashram. But the Varnashram for the Vaishnavas is a different thing. As Srila Prabhupada, he spoke about this in some other lectures. Let's see if I can find that. Prabhupada said, for us, we're not interested in Varnashram. He said, but these rascals, they need to have some example. We're doing it for them. Otherwise, I'm not finding that. Let me see here. Give me just a moment. This is such a nice statement from Srila Prabhupada. It makes things very clear. Okay, there we go. So this is from a lecture, a morning walk in Vrindavan in 1974. Okay. I'll go ahead and read. Prabhupada said, our position is that we are above Varnashram. Okay? But for management or ideal society, we're introducing this. We're introducing this for management for ideal society. Two reasons, management and ideal society, to set an example and to help our own community. We're introducing it. So far we're concerned, as Krishna conscious men, we're above Varnashram. But to show people that we're not escaping, we can take part in any order of life. That is our position. Just like if I brush somebody's shoes, it doesn't mean I'm a shoemaker. My position is the same. But to show how to do it, just like a servant is doing, the master says, oh, you cannot do, just watch. Just like I show you sometimes how to mop. I'm not a mopper, but I'm showing how to mop. Our position is like that. We do not belong to any varna and ashram, but we have to show these rascals. Prabhupada goes on, if we act as Varnashram, still we have nothing to do with Varnashram. And Prabhupada, this is another, in a letter to Hansa Duda in 1974, he said that the Varnashram system is for convenience sake in the material world. It has nothing to do with spiritual life. That's Prabhupada's emphatic statement. It has nothing to do with spiritual life. Acceptance of Varnashram means a little easy progress to spiritual life. Otherwise, it has no importance to us. For example, all my European and American disciples have no Varnashram position. Anavadyangi was coming as a young lady, and so many of your godbrothers coming to Prabhupada. Prabhupada asked her once in Los Angeles, he said, so, were you doing Varnashram before you came? Prabhupada, they didn't even know what Varnashram is. Huh? Prabhupada said, all my European and American disciples have no position in Varnashram. But spiritually, because they follow the rules and regulations and my instructions, their advancement spiritually is being appreciated by everyone. Always remember, the Varnashram life is a good program for material life, and it helps one in spiritual life, but spiritual life is not dependent upon it. After all, the system of Varnashram has to be realized before accepting spiritual life, and the renounced order of sannyas is the last stage of Varnashram. So we shouldn't water things down with that. It's not a required thing, is it? I'll read you something else. This is a conversation with Srila Prabhupada. Let me see here. Well, this is quite a long conversation. We'll just read a little bit of it. This is in Mayapur in February 1976 with Tamal Krishna Maharaj and later Hridayananda Maharaj. And I'm going to kind of read this and paraphrase it. You can look at it and see. I'm not going to strictly read it. We'll just kind of flip through it. Prabhupada's saying about how all of his sisters were married by the time they were 12 years old. And Prabhupada said, my second sister, she became 12 years old. So the other sisters were married before they were 12. The second sister became 12 years old, and his mother became so disturbed. Oh, the girl's not being married. I should commit suicide. Tamal Krishna Maharaj was shocked at 12. Prabhupada said, 12 years. And she was given to a boy, my brother-in-law, for his second marriage. That means that my brother-in-law lost his first wife, and he was 21 years old. My sister was 12 years old, and the brother-in-law was 21. so then Tamal Krishna Maharaj says that so many of the girls in our society, they've reached that age, but they're not getting married. And then Prabhupada said something very important. No, your society is different. Very important principle, because isn't Jnana Vadyangi, if you start getting 12-year-old girls married in America, the police are going to come. It's going to be
Yep.
a front page newspaper thing, Hare Krishna cult marrying 12-year-old girls. It's so bad. Prabhupada says, no, your society is different. And Tamal Krishna says, no, I mean in ISKCON. And Prabhupada said, no, ISKCON is not going to be a social reformer. That's not our purpose. Such an important point. We're not meant to be social reformers. We have another program. But as far as possible, we can help. But our main business is how to make everyone Krishna conscious. That's our business. We can't take it up, this social reform thing. But if possible, we can all take up the system of Varnashram.
Still, Prabhupada wanted all his young women to be married.
Yeah. But today, today at the age of 12, it doesn't work. There's
No.
somebody's, I think your daughter's about 12 or something. I hope you don't get her married. But we were doing that. I don't know if Anaki probably remembers. I remember there was one girl in the LA temple in 1982. She got married to a Prabhupada disciple who was like 45. And everybody thought, this is Varnashram Prabhu. And surprise, surprise, it didn't work out. Prabhupada's saying, no. This is your society's different, and it's not so important. It's not such an important thing that we have to follow. Huh?
Can I
Let's
bring up the woman's point of view of this a moment?
please
Because
do.
one of the things Prabhupada said, that this was so the young girl would know that she didn't have to worry about what will happen to her. She knew that she would have someone, that someone was planned to help take care of her when she got older. So she wasn't in anxiety. Oh, who will be my husband?
Yeah, that's so important. They need that kind of peace of mind. Let me go on with a little bit of the same conversation with Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada says here, Varnashram Dharma is a good help to us, undoubtedly, but it's not important for Krishna consciousness. It's a good help, but it's not important for Krishna
That's
consciousness.
right.
Otherwise, how could I start this movement in the Western country? There was no Varnashram Dharma, but that did
Mhm.
not hamper my movement. Now people are surprised how these people become such great devotees, but it was not based on Varnashram Dharma.
Yeah.
No, because the whole movement is spiritual. It starts on a spiritual platform. Prabhupada said, all my disciples are pure devotees, and they were pure devotees. Pure, maybe not in the sense that always they were able to continue following everything the way Prabhupada wanted,
hmm
but pure in the sense that they weren't taking shelter of karma or gyan. Such a very, very important thing.
hmm That and
So,
the first thing Prabhupada taught when he came to New York or Boston is you're not this body. That was
yeah.
what was really important. That was the basis. You're not this body. What to speak of Varnashram? Male,
Yeah.
female, black, white, rich, poor, right? The prayers of
But the
Lord
problem is
Chaitanya.
today, if we're not hearing from sadhu, if we're not hearing proper Krishna Katha, Narottam is saying, then we may be attracted by this gyan or this karma. We'll start thinking that, oh, to know Sanskrit and know a lot of verses, that means I'm a pure devotee. But Jayananda Prabhu, you
Ah,
knew Jayananda, didn't you?
I did. And I was there when he passed.
Oh.
And he was
Jayananda,
very influential in bringing me to the temple and making me a devotee. He
Jayananda Prabhu was
actually
amazing.
drove me from Sacramento to the temple, the old temple, in on Valencia Street in San Francisco.
Acha. Acha. So Jayananda Prabhu, very famously, I've heard about him. He's one of our heroes. He wasn't a big Sanskrit pundit,
Nope,
he but he loved Prabhupada. And the
he did.
devotees, Prabhupada wasn't having them studying Sanskrit and this and that. Prabhupada was sending them out on the street for 8 to 10 hours a day doing
He was the
Harinam.
one who landed Prabhupada's books into Tower Books and Records.
Acha. I remember Tower Records. I was in San Jose. Now they don't have those things anymore. Everything is online. Okay, let's look a little bit in the Srimad Bhagavatam. These are some verses with commentary from the Sarta Darshani of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. This is from the 11th canto, chapter 2. Ye vai bhagavata prokta upaya hyatma labdaye anja pumsam avidusam vidi bhagavatan hitan. That even ignorant persons can easily come to understand the Lord if they adopt the means which are given by the Lord himself. And what is that means? It's Bhagavat Dharma, devotional service. So in his commentary, Vishwanath says that the characteristics of Bhagavat Dharma here, they're being described. And he says that Varnashram Dharma was spoken by Manu, Manasamhita, and others. But because bhakti is most secret, Krishna himself is speaking about it. And you should know that the method for quickly attaining one's benefit, Atma Labdaye, even for ignorant persons, is Bhagavat Dharma. And therefore, Srila Prabhupada, when he came to America, he didn't start speaking about Varnashram Dharma and that the ladies have to follow Sri Dharma and they have to cover their heads, they have to do this thing. Prabhupada sent them all out. He sent everybody out for book distribution. Let's go on to...
And some of his biggest book distributors were women.
Yeah, women made this movement, at least 50% of it. And they didn't get much credit, in my humble vision, what I've seen. So the next verse, Yanastaya naro rajan, na prama yeta karichit, yavan nimilyava tre, naskalen na patet iha. Important verse, this is quoted by Vishwanath and other places too, that someone who takes to this process of bhakti, even if they're running with their eyes closed, naskala not patediha, they're not going to fall down, they're not going to trip, because bhakti is going to protect them. And Vishwanath explains, he says that someone who has begun bhakti, just the beginning of bhakti, they're no longer qualified for Varnashram. In performing bhakti, there's no consideration of whether one has performed these duties of Varnashram or not. So again, Bhaktivinoda says that there's Swanishita, Parinishita, and Nirapeksha, someone who is very much in the bodily concept of life and is not taking to bhakti, as Narottam is saying in this verse today, who doesn't understand the glories of Prema-bhakti, and is hearing so many different things. Maybe they're hearing about how to take care of cows and how to grow vegetables and how to build a house and those are important things. And his devotees may also be interested in them for the process of bhakti. But those devotees are someone who's hearing Krishna Katha from sadhus and associating with pure devotees, devotees who are not interested in taking shelter of all these other things. So such a person who has faith in bhakti, they've begun bhakti. And for them, they're not qualified for Varnashram in the sense that how are they going to do it? They're not going to be able to do it properly because they're not going to have proper faith in it. They're just going to want to go and do kirtan or whatever else. Like Leela Purushottam, who's got his garden and everything, but he doesn't have inspiration to do much with it anymore. He just wants to chant and read with the devotees. So when we're doing bhakti, there's no consideration whether someone has done Varnashram Dharma or not.
Oops, we lost you.
Sorry, my internet connection just now crashed.
Oh.
And we're coming back again. So if someone's practicing bhakti, they can't do Varnashram properly. And then Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur quotes the 11th canto, chapter 20, Tavat karmani kurvita. Let's put this on the board. Tavat karmani kurvita na nirvidyeta yavata matkata shavanadova shraddha yavan najayate. That you should continue doing Varnashram Dharma, Vedic ritualistic activities, until you become detached from sense gratification, and matkata shavanadova shraddha yavan najayate. You develop faith in hearing and chanting about me. This is what Vishwanath is speaking about in this verse today. If we're hearing from the proper source, then we'll develop faith. Shushusho Shadadanasya Vasudeva Kata Ruchi. If we're hearing and we're rendering service to that personality. If we don't have that faith, then we have to do some other system. But then in that case, we should still continue hearing as best that we can. Let's see. There's so many verses from the Bhagavatam 11th canto that we... I'm just going to skip all these verses from the Bhagavatam. They're very interesting. We made a Bindu magazine some years ago, a year or two ago, about Bhakti and Varnashram Dharma. Okay, we'll read a couple of things here. This is really good. This is from a few chapters later, Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur. He says that Dharma of Bhakti has three types. Pure Bhakti, mixed Bhakti, and secondary Bhakti. Pure Bhakti arises in humans with or without Varnashram. With or without. By associating with pure devotees. It does not arise from Varnashram or other processes. And Vishwanath speaking to Krishna, he says, you said, Yamna yogena sankhena dana britatapod vayar vyakya swadhyaya sanyasai prapnuyad yanuvat api. That I can't be attained by efforts of yoga, sankhya, charity, vows, austerity, sacrifices, explaining the Vedas, study the Vedas, or sannyas. When persons practicing Varnashram contact pure bhakti by devotional association, they give up Varnashram and perform the Dharma of Bhakti. Now, giving up Varnashram doesn't mean that okay, now I'm going to go naked. I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to run off and I'm not going to do anything for society now. But it means they're not putting their faith in that. And they can't put their faith in that if they're hearing Sudha Harikatha. Baladeva Debushan speaks about this also in some of his writings. And he explains a similar point that Bhaktivinoda Thakur makes in his book, Bhakti Tattva Vivek, where Bhaktivinoda says that if someone is practicing bhakti, but they're mixing it with Varnashram Dharma, or they're mixing it with Gyan, some stress on collecting some information or something, he says in that case, then Bhakti Devi doesn't show her face, or she shows part of her face, because Bhakti Devi is not pleased. Bhakti Devi is pleased when we take complete shelter of bhakti. And Krishna says, Bhakti Amam Abhijanati Yavanyas Chasmi Tatvataha. That when someone takes pure shelter of bhakti, then they'll see Krishna as he is. But if they take shelter of something else, then they develop faith in karma or gyan or some other things. So, and all these different processes, it's said that sadhyate nena, that when you do a process, some practice that results in accomplishing something, sadhya, that's called sadhana. There's two words, sadhana and sadhya. Okay, so sadhana is something that you do to attain something. Sadhyate nena. And sadhyate, so when you accomplish that thing, that's your sadhya. But Rupa Goswami in Pajavali, speaking about bhakti, says, Tan me sadhyam sadhanam jivanam cha. That Krishna's name is my life Tanme sadyam, jivanam. It's my sadhya, it's the goal of my life, and it's my sadhana. It's the process by which I'm going to attain the goal of my life. But you can't say that with other processes. You can't say that about karma. You can't say that about Varnashram. You can't say that about Gyan. And those processes, when you practice, you practice Gyan, some collection of knowledge and just trying to memorize verses and whatever, just for the sake of learning them. Once you've learned so much, then I can stop now. I'm finished. But when we're practicing bhakti, when we're chanting the holy names, it never stops. So we should take Narottam Das Thakur saying again and again, Jnana karma kore lok. These people, these persons, loka, who are taking shelter of karma and jnana, it's because they don't understand bhakti. Nahi jani, bhakti yoga. Nana mate hoya agyan. Because they're hearing so many different ideas, so many different opinions and things. So tara kata nahi shuni. They're not hearing Krishna kata. We should hear Krishna kata. Paramatma tattva jani. We should hear about paramartha tattva, the absolute truth. And we should understand that Prema Bhakti Bhakta Gana Pran. That Prema Bhakti is the life and soul of the devotees. There's nothing more than that. And therefore this word mata is used. Let's look at this verse again from Narottam Das Thakur. And then we'll go ahead and finish. Nana mate. The opinions, the ideas, the understanding. Mata means opinions or ideas like that. Nana mate hoya agyan. We're hearing so many different ideas, so many problems. Now, previously, in Prema-bhakti-candrika, Narottam Das Thakur has described to us, Karmi gyani micha bhakta nahoy betoya anurakta sudha bhajaneti koroman, bhajajanaraje mata. Uses the same word mata. That we want to hear. We want to understand what is the mata, what is the opinion, what is the mood of the residents of Vrindavan. Tahi habe anugata. We want to follow them. Se paramatattvadam. This is the topmost thing. And he says, Karmi gyani micha bhakta nahoibe toya anurakta. Don't be attached to the karmis and gyanis and the false devotees. Rather, Sudha Bhajaneti Koraman. You should fill your mind, Koraman, with Sudha Bhajan. Meaning that if you are getting all absorbed and all bent out of shape about the karmis and the gyanis and the false devotees, it means you're not taking shelter of bhakti. You're doing something else. It's such an important point. So let's look at the verse again today. Jnana karma kore lok nahi jani bhakti yoga nana mate hoya agyana tada kata nahi shuni paramartha tattvajani prema bhakti bhakta gana pran. The less intelligent people engage in pious activities and speculative knowledge. They don't know the process of bhakti because they're misguided by various opinions. Nana mate hoya agyan. Don't listen to them. Know for certain that transcendental devotional service, that Sudha Bhakti, is the life and soul of the devotees. So I'm going to go ahead and stop there. And maybe some of the devotees have some reflections or comments or anything. You know, Anavadyangi Mataji, she was in Boston, wasn't it? During the ISKCON press days. You're helping with that?
No, my godbrother was. But I was at Ananda when I met devotees, and Ananda
Acha.
was the farm was started by Kriyananda, who was a disciple of Yogananda.
Acha.
And Prabhupada had said about the Self-Realization Fellowship, which they had started, is that he had bhakti, but he was misled by the impersonalists.
Oh, that's very interesting. In that same place,
Because
that's where Tamal
as you
Krishna Maharaj
read
died.
Autobiography of a Yogi, he tells about an incident where he was dancing on the roof with Krishna.
Wow.
He actually had a vision of being with Krishna. And
Acha.
but he was misled by the impersonalists. So Self-Realization Fellowship, which is down in Los Angeles, it's there in Lake Palisades. It is a very powerful place. It's beautiful. Gardens and everything, and but yeah, you can see he had some bhakti, and that's why many devotees had came to Prabhupada, myself, and there were a few others, and because there was something missing, we weren't satisfied. And when we heard Prabhupada, bingo, that's the answer, the
Bingo.
solution. God is a person.
Well, we're very fortunate you're here with us today. Thank you. I hope
Well,
everything's
I
okay for
feel,
you. I contacted was it Marianne?
yes, she told me.
And Rena, I told her, I said, you have to go and visit Anna Vinyangi. She said, yes, yes, I know.
We had a very nice conversation, and I thank you very, very much because it's been very rough lately for me, having lost my husband.
Yeah,
You talk, and yeah, I feel this I think this Varnashram system. It's like Prabhupada compared it to the material body. That the
uh-huh.
Brahmins are the head, the Kshatriyas are the arms, the Vaishyas are the stomach, and the Shudras the legs. You not heard that one?
Yeah,
You heard
yeah,
you heard that, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
so yeah, so he says this naturally occurs in society. It's not that it's some made up thing, but he also says it has well, about everything he said, no hard and fast rules, even the four regulations. No hard and fast rules because there are exceptions to things. I mean, you look at even some of the sannyasis he told to get married, right?
Right.
And um and their wives are like pure devotees. I know one who lives in Santa Cruz, and yeah, I mean, and I know how hard it is being without your husband. My husband and I were together for 40 years, and he was a preacher for the Church of Christ. He'd gone to the Arkansas School of Preaching. They
Okay.
were and we'd have many discussions on Jesus and the Bible. And one of the favorites that have been going through my head last night was very famous story is when Jesus walked on water and he
Uh-huh.
reached into the boat to take Peter's hand and Peter wouldn't come. And Jesus said to him, "Oh, ye of little faith." And I'm going, that is my position. That is my problem.
Yeah, Krishna.
We
Thank you.
have,
We're so happy. I'm so happy to get to see you tonight. Let me go ahead. I'm going to read some. There's a few other comments from other devotees. Navikishore Govinda Prabhu is our good friend in South India. And he's commenting here, Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranams. Varnashram Dharma has its own manuals and social duties, while Bhakti follows the guidance of the previous acharyas, focused on pure devotional service. I'm confused whether Srila Prabhupada wanted Daivi Varnashram to be established. If yes, then there could be any practical practical conflict between Varnashram duties and the cultivation of pure bhakti in a community? How should devotees harmonize the two? Could you kindly clarify? Well, such a fascinating thing, such a fascinating subject. We were having some discussion with some scholars about this recently, and how different Vaishnavas, both within our Gaudiya line and within Sri Vaishnavism and other lines, how they dealt with Sandhya Vandana. Sandhya Vandana is all the different, for those of you who don't know, all the different rituals that a Brahmin traditionally does when he chants Gayatri. They'll perform Visheshachaman, they'll perform Nyasa on their body, they'll call Gayatri Devi, they'll offer prayers to Gayatri Devi. They do a whole thing. It takes quite some time. So are they supposed to do that or not do that? And first of all, it's pointed out that nowhere do our Goswamis speak about Sandhya Vandana. Okay? It's not described in Hari Bhakti Vilas or Bhakti Rasamrita, and it's not one of the main angas of bhakti. But at the same time, it's sometimes done by persons who are in a Brahmin family, who are already living in a Brahmin family, in a community, maybe like you're doing in South India or something, you have your family, and there's certain things you have to do. So you do those things, but they're not attached to those things because they don't see them as the topmost. They see bhakti as the most important. So sometimes there may be some conflict between the two. So to harmonize those things, Prabhupada says in the Gita, we take shelter of Guru. And Guru will tell us what we should perform in Varnashram and what we shouldn't. Here in Hungary, we're very fortunate. Srila Shivaram Maharaj, he's writing some books about Varnashram Dharma. And what he's writing is not the same as Manasanghita or other things in India, because Manasanghita is not applicable for this day and age. In Manasanghita, if someone does some sinful thing and they're supposed to you strip their clothes off and smear turmeric all over their body and put them on a horse and on a donkey and send them to the community. We don't do that here. Or sometimes they're supposed to cut off their ears or this. We don't do those things here. But there's certain standards and things. There needs to be some culture, some community. So he's establishing that based on bhakti as a guru. So that's going to differ in different places. Just because Bhaktivinoda speaks about that in Chaitanya Siksamrita, because the community in South India, in certain places, if you don't do Shraddha for your ancestors, your family will just hate you and excommunicate you. Some of it, Navikishore Govinda Prabhu may understand, some other devotees from India. Although Srila Bhaktisiddhanta at the same time, especially for devotees living in the temple, he was furious, very angry if they performed Shraddha. He said, no, you're practicing bhakti, this thing is not necessary for you. So really, those are relative questions. The absolute principle is we always take shelter of bhakti, but it's going to depend upon our individual degree of faith, our individual spiritual progress, and the community that we live in. And therefore, Guru will give us particular instructions for that. Orsi, do you have something you want to share? Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Hare Krishna. Today I just read a newsletter about that newest issue of the Tattva magazine, the journal of the Bhaktivedanta colleges just issued, and the topic was the Varnashram Dharma, and I just took a breath. And I skipped. And that skip is now revealed because somehow it's really challenging for me. Of course, I can accept and I understand the relevance of Varnashram Dharma. What is hurts my feeling, let's say, and I think not only my feeling, many devotees, if I feel that it is forced, it's artificial, and someone would like to appoint me somewhere and do something which it's not come naturally, and I don't know. Of course, I accept myself as it is, but it's just painful. And another thing which I was thinking previously, it's a little bit different, more philosophical. That you mentioned that Vrindavan is the place of pure devotion, Mathura is place of Gyan, and Dwaraka is the place of Varnashram. And I was thinking that when I read that there are three kind of prema, and the first type of the prema, like Kubja's prema, and the second the type of the kings of Dwaraka, and the highest, of course, the gopis in Vrindavan. And I was thinking that here, this if he equals Dwaraka with the Varnashram, I was thinking that how how the love of the queens of Krishna are higher. It's just interesting correlation. That's
Yeah,
observation.
it's very difficult for me to really give a proper answer to that in the way I'd like to. It's a very postgraduate study, the way I would like to answer that. If you wanted, I'll give you a direction for that though. Study Lalita Madhav, study what my Guru Maharaj said about Lalita Madhav and the queens in Dwarka. Study Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentaries, and especially on the last chapter, the 10th canto, which speaks about the queens in Dwarka and how they were feeling separation from Krishna, and compare that with Lalita Madhav. You could also find some things in Bhakti Sundarbha from Srila Jiva Goswami about the queens also. It's a very, very deep, very, very esoteric subject. Not exactly what we think. I would just say this much to try to give a skinny answer to your question. When Bhaktivinoda Thakur in Krishna Samhita says that Vrindavan represents pure bhakti and Mathura represents something with a mixture of Gyan, and then Varnashram and Mathura, he's not speaking about the same thing that Lalita Madhav, Rupa Goswami is speaking about there, and that it's a completely different thing. He's speaking, first of all, you have to understand, Jiva Goswami in Paramatma Sundarbha says, we should understand why the writer, why the author of the book, who is his audience, who is he speaking to. And in Krishna Samhita, Bhaktivinoda Thakur was writing in Bengali for what was called the Bhadra Lok. The Bhadra Lok were a group of Bengali people in Kolkata who were so-called distinguished high-class people, but they were following the British. And they were enamored by the British and following all the British things. And they thought whatever the Britons say, the Brits say, that's the best. So they thought that the Bhagavatam is only 1,000 years old. And this and this. And Bhaktivinoda in Krishna Samhita, he says some shocking things, which he himself doesn't agree with in other places. For example, in Krishna Samhita, he says that the Bhagavatam is only 1,000 years old. But elsewhere, he says it is 5,000 years old. So he's speaking to a particular group of people. And when he speaks this thing about how Vrindavan represents Sudha Bhakti and Mathura then represents Bhakti mixed with Gyan, and then when Varnashram comes, it becomes Dwarka, that's for a certain category of persons. And it's an interesting category of persons, and it's something relevant for us and interesting, but it's not the same as understanding what Rupa Goswami and our acharyas have to say about those queens in Dwarka. So that's quite a complicated comment. But if you read those books, you'll get some idea. But it may take you a whole lifetime to understand them. Seriously. It's not a simple thing. Gorni Prabhu, you had something you wanted to share?
I have a question about the translation of the definition. Hare Krishna. I have a question about the translation, the exact translation of the Bhakti Sindhu verse, Anya Bilashita Shunyam Gyana Karmani Anavritam. Because as I remember, this Anavritam is never translated as you gave the very nice explanation of the real meaning of that word. So if we are using different word for what does it mean? What is the function of the Jnana and Karma? Means no function at all, or they have function, but they should not cover the power or the teachings. So how you can explain that?
Jiva Goswami, in his commentary on that verse, he says that some Gyan and some karma are beneficial. Thank you for bringing this up because I ran past it. And he says there's three types of Gyan: Tat Padartha Gyan, Tvam Padartha Gyan, and Jiva Brahma Aikya Gyan. Tat Padartha Gyan means that you understand who the Lord is. Tvam Padartha, then that's good. That's good for bhakti. Tvam Padartha Gyan means I understand myself as a spirit soul. That's knowledge. That's very good knowledge. Jiva Brahma Aikya Gyan means understanding the oneness of the individual soul in Krishna. That, he says, is detrimental for bhakti. Now, he says also that bhakti is not dependent on Tvam Padartha Gyan or Tam Padartha Gyan. It's not dependent on those things, but in some cases it can be helped. It is useful. In a similar way with Varnashram Dharma, when he says that Jnana Karmadi Adi means, he says, it means etc. And karma in the verse he says means Varnashram Dharma. So it means Varnashram Dharma, etc. And in some cases that can be beneficial for someone. But as I mentioned, there's two ways that it may cover. Either the Gyan may cover or the Varnashram may cover bhakti. One is that we think it's the goal, the karma or the Gyan. Or the second is we think that I have to do this, otherwise I can't make advancement. Really, what it comes down to me, is expressed so nicely in this verse from that we're reading today from Nautam, that we have to hear from a proper source. We should hear from Gurudev. We should hear from someone we have faith in, someone who's speaking Sudha, pure Krishna Katha. And then we'll have proper faith. And we may act according to Varnashram Dharma, if according to the instructions from Guru, according to our position. We may not. But we should always hear that Hari Katha. Prabhupada didn't speak much about Varnashram Dharma in the early days. But later he saw that people were so animalistic that this will help. Because devotees were leaving sannyas, and one devotee left sannyas. He's one of Prabhupada's biggest preachers. He left sannyas, and later he became a male striptease dancer.
Just
And you probably know what I mean. I don't want to say his
no,
name.
I don't. When you say advanced, I think of Ishna John.
Yeah,
And
that's another
Prabhupada gave
person.
him instructions to jump into a special spot at the Trivangi where the three
Yeah,
rivers met. And yet, it's not something Prabhupada advocated.
right. Okay, is that okay, Gaunitai Prabhu? Is that helpful?
Yes, it's very helpful, but still there is generally I don't read this translation. Means there is a without jnana, without jnana,
But it's not
without
saying
karma.
with it, it's saying anavritam, not covered.
Yeah, but the
Right.
English translation, I mean.
Oh, it's saying without Gyan, without.
Yeah,
Yeah, well,
that's
sometimes it's
misunderstanding.
just like if you're teaching mathematics and you're teaching some small children. Now, maybe you tell them 2 + 2 = 4, and then someone says, well, what about can you take, and then you teach them about subtraction. 1 minus 2 is 1. And then someone says, well, can you subtract 3 from 2? And you say, no, you can't do that. Because they're so simple, the children, they can't understand. But then a few grades later, they learn about negative numbers. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that the Acharya speaks in two ways. If we want to understand Prabhupada, we have to contemplate these two things, Tatkalika and Sarvakalika. Certain instructions for time and place, and instructions for all time and all place. Prabhupada told Govinda Dasi in San Francisco, she came and said, Prabhupada, there's a controversy. Some people say we shouldn't use hing on Ekadasi because it has grains in it. And Prabhupada chastised her. I heard this from Govinda Dasi personally. Prabhupada chastised her and said, don't be so concerned about all these rules and regulations.
May
But
I say
that,
something in regard
let
to
me finish
rules?
this though. Let me just
Okay.
finish. But now we can get hing with no grains in it. So why don't we do that? We understand the situation, but in the early days it was so simple. Please, Anavadyangi Mataji, please share something.
I heard him speak personally in Los Angeles.
Uh-huh.
He had, after explaining the four regulations and all that, he says, but actually there are no hard and fast rules. And then he says, oh, wait, there are two. Always remember Krishna, and two, never forget Krishna.
Very good. That's the essence of everything from Srila Prabhupada.
That
And
is.
that's why we love you, and we love all of Prabhupada's disciples so much, because you gave so much, and you may not be. We none of us are perfect according to karma or Gyan or this or that, but you gave everything to Prabhupada, which is the greatest. Thank you,
I
Anavadini.
I am so thankful both my sons were there in the room with Prabhupada when he left.
Wow.
And even though both my sons were initiated by Prabhupada, they were among the oldest kids at Dallas Gurukula. And then later at the in Vrindavan at with the boys in Vrindavan, and before he left. Uh and they're no longer, active in the movement. But Prabhupada says you never lose what you have been given.
Right. They
My
got
my
such an
son,
amazing thing.
my oldest son could read and was one of the earliest boys, 10 years old, who could read and write Sanskrit. And I mean, he took to it naturally like a duck to water. This is a kid who couldn't even read and write English. He keeps his Sanskrit alphabet above his computer in his office. And his
To this day?
boys, yeah, he's remarried and he has a South Indian wife. And I've met her father, amazing man, lives in a village south of Bangalore. But his sons are Dhruva and Paras. And Dhruva actually sent me a text to him, wanted to ask me some questions. And I was explaining things to him. My son gave his, you know, second son, actually, it's his first son by his second wife, but he had another son whose two children I raised who became aware of Krishna consciousness. My great grandchildren could chant Hare Krishna and got to visit temples and got to visit Rath Yatra and the LA temple and they're now both in the Navy. So um, Krishna works in strange ways, as Prabhupada would say. We aren't in control. He is the controller.
That's beautiful. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Does anybody else want to share anything?
May I have a question?
Yeah, Leela Purushottam Prabhu. Go ahead.
Could, is there any way to concisely remind us of, because I remember I've heard that from you once, to remind us how Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj interpreted Anukulyana Krishna Anushilanam, meaning Radha.
Yeah, it means completely favorable, and who is completely favorable? It means Radharani, and that therefore that verse is the essential verse for everything. It says everything. Anyabi lasita shunyam, jnana karmadi anabhitam. The word anabhitam is used, not sunyatam, for the reasons we explained. But then what is real bhakti? The first two lines are negative, and then the third line anukulyena krishnanu shilanam bhakti uttam. This is uttam bhakti. Rupa Goswami gives it in a nutshell. He says like that.
So that favorableness points to Sri Radha.
Yeah, if devotees remind me, I could post in our WhatsApp group just an article from my Guru Maharaj who was speaking about this, or at least a section of that article. It's quite sweet. We printed it years ago in our Nityananda magazine.
Yeah.
Yes. And Prabhupada said we cannot approach Krishna directly. We approach him through Radha.
Thank you, Anavadini.
And that's why Lord Chaitanya came in the mood of Radha.
Yeah, that would be my thought on it, that if we want to follow that definition, then it would, the practical implication would be Radha Dasyam. Sorry for my boldness.
Yeah, definitely. That would be the proper definition. Thank you, Prabhu. Gaunitai Prabhu makes a really nice comment. He says, there's a question about Vaishnava farm communities, eco-villages. There are about 40 around the world. None of them reach the number of 1,000, the amount of people which is needed for real social self-sustainability. He said, it looks like we need to learn not only to become pure devotees, but how to live together in such a way that's attractive to the next generation, and how to make our children stay and develop Vaishnava villages to give shelter to people all over the world. Prabhupada wanted that. It's a very important thing.
Yes, simple
So,
living, high thinking.
yeah.
I was actually quite surprised by that straightforwardness of Srila Prabhupada, that we are not social reform movement in the light of your previous quote that of Abhiram Prabhu, that 50% of my work wasn't done.
Mm-hmm.
How do we estimate which one of those two would have a more weight, or how do we estimate what appeals to us? Because we can see that there are devotees in our movement, even among Srila Prabhupada's disciples, who are very much concerned about this statement of Abhiram Prabhu, hearing that from Srila Prabhupada and trying to serve Srila Prabhupada in that way. If I compare it like with my inner experience of how I want to serve Srila Prabhupada's movement and help Srila Prabhupada's movement, it just doesn't appeal to me. And now the question is, there are certainly devotees who wants to make me feel guilty that it doesn't appeal to me. But then I have this quote, but okay, we are not we are not social reform movement. And what if my inspiration and even guidance from my superiors leads me to help this movement in spreading Krishna Katha and holy name? Yeah, that's
When
maybe.
I moved in the LA temple, Mukunda Maharaj, he was a sannyasi, he's a resident sannyasi there at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And with 2 or 3 brahmacharis, like once a week, he had a little program. We would sit with him and read and discuss. And one day he told us an interesting story, how he, as we know, he was one of the very first founders in the London Yatra. He went there and preached to the Beatles and George Harrison and it.
He was also one of the very first devotees.
Yeah. And at one point, everything became established, more or less, in London. And he was feeling, because Mukunda Maharaj is really expert dealing with the media and important people and things, and he was feeling not so much needed, not so excited with things there. So he was thinking that he wanted to leave and go somewhere else. And the devotees were upset about it. And some Maharaj told us that one of them went to Srila Prabhupada and complained. Prabhupada, Mukunda Maharaj, he's very restless and he wants to leave and this and that. So Prabhupada called for him, you come? And Mukunda Maharaj said he came in the room and offered obeisances. And when he got up, Prabhupada looked at his face and Prabhupada said, oh, you need a change. He thought he was going to be chastised by Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada said, you need a change. You should go somewhere else. So Prabhupada immediately saw and understood. And it wasn't like you're a demon because you're not, doing what everybody else here is doing. And so in a similar way, some devotees weren't doing book distribution, but they weren't demons. But Prabhupada spoke so much about book distribution. It wasn't that everybody had to do Varnashram, everybody has to do book distribution, it has to do this or that. There's so many different roles that we can have in this movement.
Mm-hmm.
That's my humble thought, Prabhuji. Is that helpful?
Thank you. Yeah.
He
Any time
also
we have
wrote a
something
lot
else?
of articles for the BTG.
Yeah, Mukunda. He's amazing. I was just speaking this morning, my morning, with one of his disciples who's about to take sannyas, disciple Mukunda Maharaj. He's in Australia with his Guru Maharaj right now. It's nice hearing from him. Gorni Thai Prabhu. Yes.
Yeah, my concern is that I'm a really selfish person. And you know that I was living almost alone in Krishna consciousness, but no, my son became devotee. And then he have a lot of questions how to develop Krishna consciousness, and he have a wife, nice wife, two children. And I'm in anxiety because if I know that they go to the temple, which is a beautiful temple, so what they can do there? Uh, my son and my wife, his wife is like 40, and with whom they will meet, young boys and girls. And what can they speak about? You know, what they know about their family life. And then they go to the farm, and then they go to the morning program, and there are 5 person, 10 person in the class. So I'm afraid that we have to develop either farm communities or such a Vaishnava communities who have all the age all together and they can learn together and have space together, because otherwise this kind of persons will really have heavy
Yeah.
situations.
Yeah, there's conversations. Srila Prabhupada said, even if someone eats meat, they can stay in our community. And if they have some expertise, and they like Krishna consciousness, but they can't control themselves, they can also do something. I think a beautiful example of that is that personality. Anavan Youngi's going to know who I mean. They used to call him Johnny Ananda on the streets in San Francisco. When Jayananda Prabhu passed away, one devotee was on the street somewhere, I think going to the market or something, and he met some drunken bum. And the bum asked him, said, "Hey, do you know Johnny Ananda?" That's what they called Jayananda Prabhu. And the devotee had to say, "Well, I'm sorry, he had cancer and he just passed away." And that poor drunken bum started crying.
Ah,
And Jayananda was engaging him. He was engaging so many people and helping
but
build the Rath Yatra carts and doing different things. Prabhupada was engaging so many different people.
mm,
We need to be more expert like that. And sometimes we're kind of locked into this thing. We have to just talk to them and get them to shave their head
mm.
and wear a dhoti and a sari and kunti mala and chant, but just get them to do something. I appreciate your comment. Anavajangi, you want to add something?
Oh, yes. Um, one of the things that Jayananda would do after the Sunday feast is he would gather all the leftovers, including what was still on devotees' plates or the guests, and he would take and load up his van with all this prasadam and take it to the bums. He would drive to the mission or wherever, Market Street, wherever they were, and hand out this prasadam.
That's so important. You know, here in Hungary, Shiva Ramaraj won a gold medal from the government for doing Food for Life. And now they
Mhm,
have a big, amazing building on one of the main streets in Budapest.
mhm,
Big, brand new, beautiful building. And they're doing so much Food for Life, and people appreciate it so much. Such an
mhm.
important thing. That's a good example. And Food for Life's a great way to engage different people who may not want to be devotees, but they'd like to help feed people and whatever.
Well, Prabhupada said prasadam is our secret weapon.
Yeah.
And the very first time I went to the temple in LA, I was living up at Ananda at the time, and a devotee placed a galubjaman in my mouth. Product I ever had, and I bit into that, and that sweet nectar just shot all over the inside of my mouth. And I'm going, oh my gosh, that was like, I won't even use the word of how I explain that, but was it was ecstatic nonetheless. I mean, to have that as my first taste of prasadam. I mean,
Wow. Wow.
I've learned
Thank
how
you
to
for
make
sharing.
galubjamans since then, and I've
Hey,
passed
Anand
out
Youngie,
many
you got to do
galubjamans.
something for me. You got to be my lawyer, okay? You have to contact Mary Ann and tell
Hmm.
her that I'm a rascal and that she wanted to attend our program here today and I forgot to let her know. So
Oh,
tell her I'm
but
a
you've
rascal and I
recorded this,
apologize.
right?
We recorded it, and next week she can take part too.
Okay, so send her the recording
Yeah.
because there's also 3 devotee brothers,
Uh-huh.
and
In
you're
Reno.
party from, huh?
In Reno.
One of them is an attorney in Reno. Lives right across the street from the campus, the university. The other one is up in New England, and the third one is the one who was killed in Hawaii. He is the one who did the translations for Prabhupada's books.
Oh my gosh.
And there was a recent article on Facebook about him. And yeah, and these 3 brothers are a great example of different ways in which to serve Krishna.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to stop now and let everybody go. And next week, we're going to be in a place that I can never say the name properly. Somogjanos. Percy, don't laugh at me. Gornitai.
Well, I am just so glad. Send me a reminder again. I just happened, Krishna's mercy, get in on this today.
Okay, well, it's
And I
fortunate for
appreciate
us
it.
to get your association. It's a very rare, special thing. Thank you
Well,
very
he
much.
answered my prayers because I've been praying for association. I have no association here. I'm all alone. And it's been the hardest thing I've had to endure in my whole 80 years on this planet, in this body. Well, the body, not, the body I'm in right now is not the same I had 20 years ago. I understand that.
So
But
Marianne
being
should be
in it,
coming to visit you.
I hope so. Or
I told her. I told her she has to. I told her she has
yeah,
to bring you some
she
prasadam also.
She did. She did tell me that late last night because I had been complaining that my car is working now, but the plates have expired.
Right. Yeah, and those ice guys are gonna like carry you away because it's something. I think it's crazy in America now. Okay, we're gonna stop,
It
and
is.
next week we'll be here
I feel
again.
pretty isolated from that craziness, though. I must say that I feel safe where I am.
That's good. Don't visit Minnesota soon. Okay.
I don't
All right.
plan to travel at all. I just chant Hare Krishna and stay in touch with devotees, and thank God for Facebook because that's where I associate with the devotees.
Okay. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you
So good to
again.
see you again. Hare
You
Krishna. Srila
too.
Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai
Samaveta
Srila
Bhaktivinda ki jai.
Prabhupada.
Vancha
Jai
kapa
Gorni Jai
cha kripa
Sindhya.
sindhu
Sindhu
cha
Maybe
pavan pavanebhyo
Navy
Vaishnavi
Vaisnavi.